Alright, so I was going to show you kind of what I was working on last night. I wanted to make a hack for you, but I wanted to be able to use multiple message boxes per level. So like, for example, if if you place a message box in a level, you only get a choice between two different messages. You can have up to two. That's how Lunar Magic does it anyway. In the original game, it kind of works like that, although it's a little bit more strict. What Lunar Magic does is it sort of automatically like recodes the game, or at least the part about message boxes. When you like, if I go up here and I click save, it'll automatically like inject a bunch of custom code into the ROM that changes the way message boxes work, which allows you to use like two message boxes per level. And that's kind of how it worked in the original game, actually, but it's a little bit more complicated. So if I go to, I think it's this one, it's not letting me zoom in. Okay. Oh, now it is. Wow, this is like laggy. Let me try closing something here. Okay, so if I, oh, what the? This is strange. Okay. If I search for, so if I go to the memory map, you can see right here, 142, oh shit. 1426 says message box trigger. 0 means none, 1 means message 1, 2 means message 2, 3 means Yoshi thanks message. Yoshi thanks message meaning when you first rescue Yoshi, the message that comes up. Okay, now over here, so I tried searching for 1426 in the code, right? And this is where the message box does its thing. So first it makes the message box solid, okay. Then it makes it process off screen. This is basically like its despawn range, like how far off screen it can survive, I guess. Then it checks the timer for, like, you hit the message box, it sets a timer, and after the timer runs out, then it displays the message. So it checks the timer to see if it's time to display the message or not. Then it plays the sound effect. Okay, so right here, this is where it activates the message, right? And what it does is it loads the message box's X position. And okay, so in Lunar Magic, this is what it says. It says a message box will display one of two messages depending on its X position. So basically how it works is, if we bring up this, if it is on, you know, if it's in an even spot, it'll display the first message for that level. If it's in an odd spot, it'll display the second message. And it just kind of alternates like that, right? So the way the game actually checks for that in the code here, in the code here, is it checks the X position, and then it basically divides it by 16, or well, what it's sort of, technically what it's doing here is it's shifting the bits to the left 4 times, and rotating them if they go past the, so basically the bits are rotating in a circle, and it rotates the bits 4 times. So the bit that was in like the 4th slot from the right is now in the slot on the far right because it rotated around. And then it checks to see if that bit is, well, it doesn't really check, it just it singles out that particular bit, the one on the far right, and then it increments it, and then it stores that value to 1426, which was the message box trigger. So basically what it does is it checks to see if the message box has a position mod 16, I guess, like either it will display message 1 if mod 16 gives you 0, or it will display message 2 if mod 16 gives you 1. So it'll end up storing a 1 if when you mod 16 you get a 0, and it'll end up storing 2 if you mod 16 and get a 1. So that's basically what it's doing here, because every time you move the message box over one tile, you're basically moving it 16 pixels forward, right? So it's basically checking whether it's on one of these 16 pixel multiples or not, I guess. My thing is I wanted to make it so that you could have more than 2 messages per level. So ideally, I guess the way it would work is, you'd have, if the message is in this first column, it would be message 1. If it were in the second column, it'd be message 2. If it were in this third column, maybe it'd be message 3, then 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, maybe. I probably don't even need 8 per level, but working with powers of 2 will probably actually be easier, so... and there's plenty of space in the ROM for more than, for 8 per level or whatever. So, I might go as far as 8. I don't know. I was actually originally thinking 6, but again, 6 isn't even a power of 2, so I kind of think that it might be easier to work with 8. But anyway, so that's kind of what I wanted to do. So I had to look at the code, and I was thinking, like, okay, so here I'd probably just rewrite this whole thing, because instead of checking a single bit, I'm now going to be wanting to check like 8 different values, I guess. So probably what I would do is I would like add something here saying like, okay, or maybe over here saying like, okay, just jump to somewhere else in the code where there's more space to work with. And then I'll just write my code over there. And then when you're done, jump back to where you were over here. That's what people usually do. It's called a hijack. And basically you would insert your hijack at this spot, and then you would, and it would send you somewhere else, and then you would write your code over there, and then come back here. And the reason you don't want to just put your code here is because it'll start interfering with this code if you write too much code, So, yeah, so that's the idea. So the next thing I needed to figure out was, okay, so when does this value, like, okay, this is where this value gets set, like where it gets stored, the 1426, but when does that value actually get used? So I couldn't find it in bank 1, I couldn't find it in bank 2, I couldn't find it in bank 3, and that's all that Kaizoman has on his disassembly. So I went to all.log. All.log is just all the code. So then what I found was, so if I type in 1426 here and find the spot in the code. Okay, so this is what I was just looking at in bank 3. And then what I did was, okay, well, where's the next instance of 1426? Here we go, mesagebox subroutine. So what it does, well, it actually doesn't check 1426. It clears 1426. Maybe there's somewhere else that it does it. Okay. This seems to be it. Yeah, see, I have it marked here because I was looking at this earlier. Okay, number of messages in the game. So the first thing it does is it loads a value indicating how many messages are in the game total. Don't know why it does it like that, but that's apparently how the original game does it. Now, Lunar Magic changes this, right? This whole part here, this whole section, basically, Lunar Magic completely changes this, I think, when you save something in the ROM. But it changes it in a way that I still don't like, so I basically want to change it in my own way. Basically, how the original game works is it says, okay, there are 16 messages in the entire game. 16 in hex, so in decimal that would be 22. there's 22 messages in the original game. So load a value of 22 into the X register, then load a value of 1 into the Y register, then okay, so take the value 22 and add it, or use it to index into a table. So basically look at the 22nd row of that table, whatever this table is. And then if it's positive, wait, what? If it's, I don't really know how comparisons work in assembly. It's checking to see if this value in this table is, oh, it's checking, yeah, it's checking to see if that value is positive, that the value it just looked up in the table, if that value is positive, then go here and start doing this stuff. If it's not, then increment Y, and then take the first 4 bits, I guess, or maybe 5 bits, and then do this stuff. Anyway, so what this is saying is get which message, see it says get which level's message to load and which message in it, whether it's 1 or 2. And then check if this message is the one actually being activated. And if not, loop and check the next message. So it does it in a really fucking contrived way that I don't understand. I guess this would work well if you knew exactly how many messages you were going to have in the game. But if I just want to set it up for myself that I can have up to 8 messages per level if I wanted, and I don't know exactly how many I'm going to use, then this isn't really going to work for me, right? So I'm going to have to change this. Then it says if the message being loaded is 3, load Yoshi's message instead. I can probably just get rid of this. I don't think I'm going to use the Yoshi message. So maybe I would just, you know, ignore that part and just skip that. If not a Switch Palace message branch, store the Switch Palace's color, message number +1. I don't even know what that means. Load the Switch Palace message sprites. If in Yoshi's house and riding Yoshi, increase the message pointer. That's, you know, if you hit the message box in Yoshi's house, it normally says, sorry, I'm not home right now, blah, blah, blah. But if you bring Yoshi to that level and hit the message box, you get a different message that basically says, the yellow switch is up the mountain or something. So that's what this is about. That's the little Easter egg thing. Okay. Okay, so if you want to disable that, you can just change this. That's what he's saying here. Okay, anyway, and then the rest, yeah. So then what it does is, so what was that table, for the record? The table that I was talking about. Let's copy and paste. Okay, here's the table. Which levels have message boxes corresponding to 13BF? I don't know what 13BF is. High bit set means it uses message 2. So in other words, if if the first digit is 8 or higher, then it uses message 2, I believe. So like this one, A is greater than 8. So this one uses message 2. 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 Okay. Anyway, the first 4 are the Switch Palaces, then Yoshi's house, and then the various levels. So these 4 are the 4 Switch Palaces. This is Yoshi's house. Right, because Yoshi's house is not level 0. I don't really understand what it... it says which levels have message boxes, but these are not level numbers as far as I can tell. I don't really know what... Okay, I don't really understand. Anyway, then indexes to the data for each message box in the table below. Okay, so this is how far to index into the table. So basically this would be like the first message starts at, so okay, this is all the characters in all the message boxes. So it's a big table, right? Each byte is a character, right? So the idea is this is telling you, okay, so the first 8D of these numbers represents the first message. So it stops right here. So this would be the first message. See, it says message 0 through 1, or actually, I guess it's more like half of that or something. So I don't know, maybe it ends there. And then the next ones are here, and it says, the first two messages end at the 9A, which is right here in the 9A. There's actually two 9As, but I'm assuming it's talking about the one in this row. Anyway, and then it's saying, okay, for the first message, start at 8D. For the second message, start at the beginning. For the third message, start at 8D. Wait, I actually don't understand what it's saying. Because why is 8D here multiple times? Okay, anyway, so these are all the characters. So I could change the messages by just modifying these values, right? Like I could change this 4, 8 to a, 7, 7 or something, and it would change one of the characters and one of the messages. But that's not really what I'm looking for. I'm trying to give myself more messages to work with, right? So I'd actually need more data. I'd actually need more space, which is probably what Lunar Magic does. I actually don't know exactly what Lunar Magic does. I don't think it's documented anywhere, but basically, Lunar Magic handles it slightly differently. So in Lunar Magic, if you go to the message box like editor thing, you can see that 0, the first 0 is for the intro message, welcome, this is Dinosaur Land, blah blah blah. 0, 2 is for Yoshi's message. Okay, and then it actually has a bunch of blank messages. The original game doesn't have these, right? The original game is just like, okay, these don't exist, right? So Lunar Magic actually gives you the freedom to add more messages that weren't originally there, and it kind of changes the way the code works to interpret that correctly. The next message would be 4, 2, which is, this is a ghost house, can you find the exit? Whatever. 5, 1, which is, you can slide the screen left or right, and then it's got the switch palaces. So you can see Lunar Magic does it in a fairly intuitive way, but you still only get 2 messages per level. So it wouldn't work for my purposes, right? So there is actually a patch on SMW Central to be able to use more messages per level, but I don't know how the patch works, and I don't want to use something if I don't understand how it works, I guess, basically, is my problem. So I just, yeah, I don't know what to do at this point. The other problem is if I customize the code, then Lunar Magic is just going to overwrite it again later anyway, right? So, I don't know. But I would like to be able to figure this out just so I can feel smart at the very least, even if it's not practical.